So let's begin our debate with the first statement. It is about homework. So, homework is simply a term that we use to describe works that are assigned by the teacher during school hours and is meant to be completed at home after school. According to interviews and surveys, many said that homework is very beneficial for students and it helped encourage their development. While many students are not a fan of homework, it is considered to be a very important part of one's learning. While it is known to be a staple of traditional schooling, homework has also become a rather divided topic. Because recently there is some conversation among students online surrounding the negative effects of homework. The points that were brought up were like how it causes stress and how it is taking away their time, while some people still believe that homework is a necessary part of school. So what do you think? Should students still have homework or should we just stop assigning homework? I totally support homework because according to a 2006 meta-analysis by Harris Cooper is a psychology professor at Duke University. There was a positive relation between homework and students' achievement, meaning students who did homework performed way better in school than the student who didn't do homework. Not only does homework encourage students to do self-learning because they do it at home, they have to research by themselves, but it also provides an opportunity for students to practice applying concept learned in the lesson into real-world use, which helps students understand the lesson in greater depth. And it also supports critical thinking skill and problem-solving skill. It also allows for individualized practice, providing to the diverse learning paces of different students because, some people may not be good at learning in class and they need extra time to practice. So that's why I think that homework is very, very important and we should definitely still assign homework for students. Thank you. Okay, while I can agree with some of the things that you've just said, both the National Association and the National PTA support a standard of 10 minutes of homework per grade level. For example, if you're in 6th grade, the appropriate working time for you is 60 minutes. And they also set a general limit on after-school studying. Donaldson Pressman, an expert in family dynamic, told CNN that homework over this level is not only not beneficial to students' grade, but it also is detrimental to their attitude about school and their quality of life. And according to a survey done by the Washington Post, high schoolers reported doing an average of 2.7 hours of homework per weeknight, while the appropriate working time for a senior is 2 hours. So if you are referring to the amount of homework as it is being assigned to students nowadays, I don't think it is beneficial. And it can even be the cause of stress, which is the reason for students' resentment towards school. Let's move on to the second topic, which is about standardized testing. So standardized test refers to a large-scale assessment administered to a substantial group of students. Most standardized tests consist of multiple choice and true or false questions. Standardized tests allow educators to compare class and students' progress across a wide geographical area. It is obvious that standardized testing has been with us for a very long time, but why is it necessary that we have to keep it this long? And do you think that it is still a good way to measure a school performance? Thank you for the question. Standardized testing serves as an efficient way to measure students and schools' performance. It provides a standard benchmark for measuring the academic progress, identifying areas of improvement, and holding schools accountable for their educational results. By using a common measure, we can be sure that students are meeting the essential standards of education. Without the test, we wouldn't be able to identify the problem and see where assistance is needed. Standardized testing helps us recognize the quality of education and the performance of students, which leads to the improvement in the system. That is why I think that we should have standardized testing and that it is very important. Thank you. While standardized testing can compare and identify learning gaps in students, I don't think it can really measure every student's true potential. A one-size-fits-all testing approach is arguably biased because it cannot account for certain factors that are unique to each student. such as their mental health, their learning disability, language barriers, or socioeconomic status. Or perhaps a student just isn't a good test taker. Like somebody could be really good at writing, but they're really bad at doing multiple choice quiz. So according to my research, it is very clear that standardized testing cannot measure a student's true potential. So for the last question, I have two statements to make and two different questions for the different side. Okay, so first for the proposition side, we're going to talk about Finland, a country with one of the top education system in the world. It has little to no homework and does not measure students' learning in basic education with standardized testing. This approach is a result of cultural, educational, and societal factors that might not be the same in other countries. So it is not confirmed that the method will work in the same way as it does in Finland in other countries. So the question for you is why the no homework and standardized testing approach will not have the same effect on other countries as it does to Finland. Okay, while it is true that the no homework and no standardized testing approach has been used in Finland and it resulted in success, but I think that it may not have the same effect in other countries due to several factors. First to consider is the educational system structure. Other countries may have different structures and curricula or way of teachings that will not work with the Finland's approach. Second is the teacher training. Unlike Finland, some countries do not place a strong emphasis on the training of the educators, or they train them differently, which can result in not being able to yield for the same positive outcome using the method. And lastly, the expectations from parents. In some cultures, parents may still expect the school to assign homework and use the standardized test as a way to measure the progress of their students' learning. Taking away these traditional parts of school without involving and educating the parents can raise doubts and opposition. So for now, it is probably best to stick to the traditional way of homework and standardized testing. Thank you. And for the opposition side, I would like to talk about socioeconomic status. One of the factors in education that we cannot ignore is socioeconomic status. It is the position on the socioeconomic scale of an individual, which depends on social and economic factors such as income, amount or kind of education, status of occupation, residential area, and sometimes it also covers ethnic origins or religious background. Inspection of socioeconomic status often reveal the unfairness in access to resources as well as issues related to privilege, power, and control. Socioeconomic affects overall human functioning, including our physical and mental health, which cover the educational ability as well. So the question for you is, how does socioeconomic status affect students' performance? To answer the question about socioeconomic status, from now on, I'm going to refer to socioeconomic status as SES because that would be easier to understand and will be more brief. So I think it has a major effect on one's performance in school because based on an article that I read about the impact of low SES background on a child's educational achievement, it is stated that children of parents with higher SES are provided a learning environment that is more advantageous since these parents have greater learning resources available to them. And children that come from a family with low SES are often associated with poor performance in school. And this could prove two things. One of the cases to consider is how students with high standardized testing score, which mostly come from families with high SES, often take extra classes outside of school. And this means that the standardized testing cannot accurately measure a school quality of education because those students are not learning in school. The learning comes from other resources outside. Another case to contemplate is the fact that students with low SES may have to work after school, therefore they do not have the time to do homework or they do not have the time to complete those extra work after school, and it could lead to their mark getting deducted, which means bad grade for them, and which is the reason for poor performance in school. So I think that SES plays a big part in a child performance in school. So I think that we should take SES into consideration too. Thank you.